We're in session 5, and we're going to skip Power of the Name, Names Reflection, and Name Calling is a super fun tool. We're going to do that at Dave's house after dinner tonight. I want to do a little introduction. Will, to you guys, we're about to do the Insights tool. So if you would go ahead, we're in session 5, and go ahead and zoom to page 39. Now, what we're doing, we're skipping ahead. You can see we're moving from everything we've been doing thus far is clarity spiral stuff. Courage to know yourself, experience to grow. We're going to skip ahead. We're now in the first tool of the sweet spot, which is beginning to look at our ability. We're going to begin to look at our ability. We're on page 39. Page 39 of Journey 1, dark blue session. Some of you guys are in the light blue. Some of you guys are in Journey 2. Move to the first set of 39 on the dark blue header and footer. You'll see Insights Behavioral Preference there. Would you tell Kim 5:45 or 6:15? Guys, I absolutely love this tool. Has significantly impacted my life. I mean, very significantly impacted my life. The most important thing about this tool, we want to create a baseline toolbox of assessments. This tool will correlate with other tools. We're not doing DISC. We're not doing Myers-Briggs because it's the same Jungian model underneath, and there's several other tools like that that all kind of bring the same lens on your life, which we would say is a behavioral preference indicator or a personality lens. We find this, it's probably one of the most costly ones for the assessment itself, but time and time again, it proves to be more valuable, more insightful. You can get more fruitfulness out of it quickly, and it tends to be a little stickier in the long run, particularly with teams. Tommy, Jeff, you want to comment just on what this felt like with your team? How did that go? Was it sticky with the Fellowship Bible team?
Yeah, it did.
Okay.
People really enjoyed it, and I think have used it to in meetings to usually positively, to say,
Yep.
Okay, well, I get it. You're just being blue, or you're
Yep.
being yellow, or whatever.
Yep.
It's helped us talk in terms of that whole dialing up, dialing down thing as a way to serve and love others better.
Yep.
So I think that's
Yep.
been huge for us. But the funny thing is that we have so many yellows in our organization, and so that was like, oh, no wonder we don't get any work done, because it's just about having a good time.
Right. Yep. It's extremely helpful. This is a transforming tool. Insights Discovery. Let me introduce you to Insights Discovery. The most important introduction is something Tommy mentioned. That is, we see this as a lens for washing one another's feet. To put it bluntly, this is a massive opportunity. I believe it is the best opportunity for us in North America, in kind of modern day lens, to truly put others' interests ahead of ourselves. That is the ability to adapt my communication style in any context rather than to justify my own behavior. The greatest learning I have had is the more that I adapt my behavioral style of communication and my preference for the preference of someone else. Now my wife's in the house, so I can't say I'm as far down the road with this as I normally like to get away with. The more I adapt, the more I am blown away at how much God blesses the work of my hands and blesses the relationships I'm with. And my goal tonight is to give you kind of a quick overview of this tool and some very precise and quick tools on how you can use this in your personal life. For the unique journey, we have some reflection questions that we want to encourage you to digest your survey, your tool, and really record in your sweet spot toolbox some key insights that you'll take with you from this. But boy, this has got rich fruit. I took the first Insights test in 1999, and I was blown away by its impact on me. We've used this tool every week. I'm with some team, and we've seen the fruitfulness of this. It's truly extraordinary. Probably one of my favorite Insights moments was watching Max Lucado, who's just a brilliant dude, great storyteller, great author. And I remember him reading through his Insights for the very first time. I was there watching him, and he just blurted out, "How did this thing know I like liver?" And no instrument is perfect, but time and time again, I am blown away at how much depth you can get from a tool like this. What I want you to do to give you an orientation, go ahead to turn to the back of the tool. I'll use Dave's and pick on Dave, and I'll give Romy hers. Or you have there you go. If you go to the back of the tool, let me give you a quick orientation to this preference. So where I want you to go is that big circle. There's that big circle at the end. Now, what I love about this tool is you'll be able to read the prose. You don't need to be an expert to debrief your 20-some-odd pages of bullet points and other commentary on strengths, limitations, etc. But this tool is very simple. I want to use this circle to do some primary teaching and to help you locate this with other assessments that you might have. This circle is built on an axis. And what's powerful about this axis, if you want to adapt yourself and your behavior to other people, you can use this axis to basically pretty quickly know where people are. If I walk into a room, there's an unconscious competence of being able to know where the room is, how they're wired, and then I begin adapting my communication immediately in the environment. And the first thing we'll do is let's do the north-south axis. The top of this we would describe as someone who thinks with their head versus someone who thinks with their heart. That would be a quick way to do this. Thinks with their head. Thinks with the heart. Okay? The way that Myers-Briggs would talk about it's the exact same Jungian model and axis. This is a thinking, feeling axis. Okay? So this would be on your Myers-Briggs. There's four components. So this would be thinking, feeling. It's kind of obvious in the think with the head, think with the heart. But just want to get that down. And that's going to correspond, if you're familiar with Myers-Briggs, with the T and the F. So I'm an ENTP. So on my third Myers-Briggs, I'm thinking on the axis. Okay. And we'll reveal how to discover this very quickly in a conversation with someone else. And the way that's discovered is if I'm meeting Dave Rhodes for the first time, and I'm skillfully just paying attention to the first question Dave asks, or I'm watching Dave talk to Luke, and I'm hearing the first few words out of his mouth. Usually the first question or the first things that are talked about reveal whether someone is coming from a thinking with their head basis or a thinking with their heart. Are we talking about things and stuff? Are we talking about ideas, or are we talking about people? And very quickly you can see, just when you do narrative interpretation in the text, right? In the Old Testament, for example, you look at what do characters say, and that what they say reveals something about what's happening. What people say reveals very quickly whether they're thinking with their head or thinking with their heart. Okay? On that. Someone comes in, hey, someone came in this morning, congratulations on your wife. Boom, done. Congratulations on your wife. Congratulations on your pregnancy. That person is probably operating out of a base. That's the first thing they said. It's that quick when you're thinking about it as you go. So just be aware of that little thing. Now, next axis, we're going to go, I call this the initiator versus the responder, the direct versus the indirect. Initiate, response. And then this is a direct style and an indirect. It was funny. Romy and I have taken some dance lessons, and our studio has a big thing, and we were going there, and we watched about 40 routines on Saturday night. And it was funny. There's half the routines were teenage girls new to this, and you go out and you see a teenage girl out on the dance floor, and she just comes to life, and she's incredibly expressive, and all the nuances of expression are there. And then you see a girl maybe who's danced longer, and there's just a difficulty to express themselves. Now, again, not totally determinative, but a lot of times I look at that, there's actually a personality that you can see in that, just with their expressiveness, their directness, or their indirectness. This is going to correlate to extrovert, introvert. So that's a Myers-Briggs correlation. The E or the I, which is the first thing on there. Okay? Now, this is an easy one to pick up on with people. You can walk into a room, and usually you can split a room in half. Those who walk up to you and introduce themselves, and those who wait for you. And I'm speaking as kind of someone like me, a facilitator walking into a room. But you can quickly look at folks through a lens of this. You can watch people's eyes, and introverts will have less eye contact typically, and they're processing ideas, and you can begin to see nuances very quickly when you're watching this, of where people land in this. In that direct, that's why that's very valuable with the direct versus the indirect. There's a difficulty in the room, and the direct people are going to come out and hit it head on. The indirect people are going to wait and be more cautious with that. So in any situation, you can walk the room, and once you see enough to go, oh, that person's pretty direct in their style. Oh, they're thinking with their heart. They're thinking with their head. Boom, you've located them in the four primary colors or four primary quadrants. So I'm telling you, if you're attending to it, it's very quick. Let's unpack and describe each one of these formally and just build it out a little bit. Each of these is built with colors. I don't have the color exact markers here, but we'll do a little bit of correlation. This quadrant, the Insights Discovery uses the color red to say you're a primary red. Every person is a primary and secondary. So that means if your primary is red, you're either a red yellow, a red blue, or a red green. Okay? Diagonals are a little less common in life, but there are a few diagonals. Down here we have the green. The yellow. Over here we have the green. And over here we have the blue, this is the worst. Not having the colors for the people who think with their heart is the worst thing in the world. So we use those colors. And what we want to quickly walk through just a quick lens of how do we describe each of these people. You've been exposed to this stuff a lot before, but we want to make sure and use the unique journey as a time to make sure you know yourself and your wiring. And again, remember, you're adapting everywhere you go. So the red is called on the disc the D for dominance, right? So if we're using the disc, the DISC, we'll build that out here. D-I, S, and C is how the disc would work. So the red represents, in Insights, they call it the fiery red. It's the dominant style person who thinks with their head and has an initiation directness to what they do. And the red person has a good day when they get things done. At the end of the day, the red personality behavioral wiring says, did I get stuff accomplished? Did I get the job done? Did I get things off the task list? Okay? On a kind of a positive word and the shadow word that we would use as we unpack this person is a very powerful person on a good day, And on a bad day, they are considered predatory, right? These are the people, that's that pain in the blank. He's that jerk. This guy's just always about, pushing, driving, etc. And people feel like they're predators. If we were to use, there's been a bird designation and an animal designation. And they're great little designations. This would be considered the lion, but my favorite is looking at it through the bird. This is the eagle. This bird is the eagle. Okay? They fly high, but they've got talons, and they're out there. This piece, there's a lot of ministry leaders, have that drivenness, and you've all been around people with a lot of drivenness in ministry to get things done. Very easy to identify in a room when someone's red. Coming down to yellow. Yellow is called sunshine yellow in Insights. And a sunshine yellow person has a good day when they influence people. When they're bouncing around from office to office and they're telling stories and people smile and things happen and the salesman closes a deal because he had the people skills to get it done, and they're just this very, they're people, so they're actually thinking with their heart, but they initiate and they're direct. They're the one they're dialing for dollars. That's the classic salesperson who's making the phone call. Okay? And this sunshine yellow, we think of them as a peacock for the bird. And their positive word would be popular. They're popular. And when they're having their shadow side, they're negative, they're pompous, right? Do you know anybody that just drives you crazy because they're all about them when they walk in the room? Okay? Think total extroverts, thinking with their heart. They're good people, making things happen. Now, it's really interesting. When we come over here, we talk. This is fiery red, and we say, be brief, be bright, be gone. That's the mantra for reds. Be brief, be bright, be gone. Yellow is all about having a laugh, having fun. Let's have fun together. Let's do this and let's have fun. What's interesting is when we cross this line, we're still talking about people, but we're moving from an indirect, an initiation to a response, a direct to indirect. And Insights calls this the earth green style behavioral preference, the earth green preference. And the idea there is that these folks have a great day when they have a deep relational harmony throughout the day. It's all about, was relational harmony maintained? It doesn't matter whether people got things done or whether they had a lot of influence. It doesn't matter whether tasks got done. It really matters. What really matters here is harmony. And we call the bird for this, we call the dove-like personality. And the P word for this is peaceful. These are very peaceful individuals. That's a great contribution to the team. The negative on this is they're predictable. In that sense of they can get stuck in a rut. They can do things the same way. They don't like to change. Yes. The lion. This is the beaver. This is the gold. This is the beaver. This is the lion, golden retriever, beaver, otter. Thank you, otter. Yep, otter. So eagle, lion, peacock, otter. The dove, golden retriever. And then up here, let's see, did we finish this person out with the green? I think so. Up here, we have the indirect response, and this is going to be our thinking with the head person. This is going to be our cool blue. This is fiery red, sunshine yellow, earth green, cool blue. This is the observer. This is the facts. This is all about the data. The blue person is motivated at the end of the day by accuracy. Did the job get done accurately? Did a lot get done? Were people influenced? Was harmony maintained? Was accuracy protected as we got the job done? Okay? We call these people the perfectionist. Actually, the perfect is the positive, and the negative is they're picky. They're the perfectionists. And we call this the owl. This is the owl or the beaver. Remember, all of these, most of the people in the world have a side-by-side element. They're a red-yellow. They're a green-yellow. They're a blue-green. Very few are diagonal, but you have a few blue yellows, you have a few green reds. And so the most important thing about your profile, when most of us are on the same side, for example, I'm a red-yellow. Most important thing about that is where am I doubled up on one side of the line? It's very, very important. So Will Mancini doubles up on the initiate direct side of the line. All the trouble I get into in life, and it's all related to that, and all the good stuff about my life is all related to that. It's the water, right, that I'm swimming in all the time. So where are you? Are you a think with your heart side of the line doubling up? Are you doubling up on direct? Are you doubling up on indirect? Are you doubling up on thinking with your head? Very, very helpful to get a positioning on yourself, okay? How are we doing so far? I want to give you, now we're going to debrief this a little bit. We're going to debrief this a little bit later. So I want to give you a couple more lenses. A couple more lenses. I want to give you, one of my favorites is how children relate to this. Okay? If you are looking at a bunch of kindergarten kids, you can discern this very quickly. Here's your shorthand. These are the takers. Okay. These are the barterers. These are the sharers. And these are the holders. And that sounds like I'm being funny. Watch little kids, and you will see the little kid running around taking toys from Johnny is probably a task-dominant, initiator. The person that's walking around that room all day hanging on to their stuff, you will see this behavioral wiring at the earliest stage. Yes, it's redeemed. Yes, it's sin-stained, but you'll see this early on. Kid who's hanging on to the stuff, don't take it. Oliver is my nephew. I cannot believe this. As he's growing up, he loves to share. I've never seen a kid just love, but you'll see this deep green. And he loves to sit in your lap forever. And he loves to share. And yellows are just doing dealers. They're the wheelers and dealers. They're making trade. They're not going to give you something without having a trade. They're always trading and doing deals. It's a very, very fun lens to look at this through the kids. Now, the single greatest return on your investment to do adaptation and to solve problems. Oh my goodness, this is going to solve so many problems in your life. I kid you not. I would attribute half of whatever success I've had in ministry relationships to this one observation. This is just such great low-hanging fruit. Insights talks about the amount of time each color likes to have in an ideal daily interaction. So if you're interacting with a red throughout the day, what is the ideal amount of time? The ideal amount of time for a red is 60 seconds. Like, they're using that as that's not an exaggeration. That's a scientific number. It's like, hey, a red person does not need more than 60 seconds. What do we mean by that? If Creed is red, I can just pop in. You're red blue. I can pop once I know that I can pop into Creed's office anytime. Hey, man, good to talk to you. Do we get that thing done? Good, cool, boom, done. David, again, senior, mega church, senior pastor here, high level leader. I know he's red out the wazoo. Dave Lovelace is red. We can call, text, boom, 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 all day long, just very quick, in and out, quick hit, and that's a love language of red. You can just adapt to that. A yellow person likes to have more time than that, and it's the 7-minute mark is the sweet spot. 7 minutes. And so a yellow person wants more interaction than that. They want to talk about the weather, catch up a little bit, talk about sports. They want to have enough relational engagement that, there's some stuff happening. There's influence, and I can't influence unless we're talking and dialoguing a little bit. Now, they're not going deep harmony. They're just they're relationally water skiing. They're not going deep, but they're just having fun, door to door. It's so I love. You can immediately go into a room and on staff. You look at folks who can they're scooting around in ministry environments. These are folks who are kind of scooting around all day. You go to the office 7-10 minutes. You rotate around. You're kind of floating around, and you're just enjoying doing that. You're enjoying that 7-minute bandwidth of connecting with people. And a lot of people. These are the people that know like 5 times more than the average number of people. They're the networkers, connectors, etc. Now the greens, this is so powerful. The green ideal time is 20 minutes. If you know people in your life, you might be one, the ideal connection time, we did not have an adequate time relationally unless we had 20 minutes together, is what's going on there. My Romy's a yellow-green, and so she's got that green. It's my lowest. She's got a lot. Quality time is her love language, right? And every person in my life who's green, by the way, James Bethany, our creative director, is green, and for most of my life, if I know I'm going to call James, I make sure I have 20 minutes literally before I call him. And if I don't, I apologize profusely. And even though I'm his boss, I'm his supervisor, I apologize usually profusely to say, hey man, just had to have it. So sorry, I can't check up. Can't wait to check in how Wendy's doing. Check in on your son. Apologize, I didn't have a lot of time. Hey, would you mind? Could you send me that email on such and such? And hey man, can't wait to catch up. When are we doing lunch again? And you're kind of cushioning that red. But most of the time, I want to make sure I have 20 minutes and just hang out with them and have that time. And if you have greens in your life, you're going to see this, and it will free you up to know that that's the love language that they want to have as you communicate with them. Or if you're a red, you might start being careful how many greens you hire. Not really. The blue. Anyone want to try to guess what the ideal time is with the blue, who's completely motivated by accuracy? That's right. You're absolutely right on one bookend. We say 2 minutes to 2 hours. It is a complete range with almost no regard for time. If you are speaking accurately and giving me the accuracy I need, time stands still, and I have all the time in the world. And if you can get in and out in 2 minutes with accurate information, you're fine. Be gone. No big deal. If you can't, don't be sloppy. Give me all the data. Give me all the facts. Give me all the details on this. Every moment of communication that you have, which is basically hundreds a day, are actually operating with these filters going on. And if I just quickly just give you 5 or 6 bright spots in my life. My dad is a red-blue, and he married my mom, who's a green-yellow. So where are they doubled up on the line? And I kid you not, I can close my eyes and hear my dad ask this. The first question he asked my mom every day when he came home from work was, Lee, what did you get accomplished today? He was speaking to her out of his wiring. He judged the day of how much he got done. My mom was all about relationships. Our house was always a wreck. What he was really saying is, what did you get done today? And, my mom burned that. It's like weight, a burden. He never appreciated that relational value. I, for a long time, had a hard time communicating and calling my mom, just as a son. I did not know how to have a conversation with my mom on the phone until I saw this. And I'm telling you, it revolutionized that. So when I call my mom, it's a very simple process. I have a mental relational file folder. And if I'm talking to mom, I've cracked the code. Hey, mom, how's Julie doing? And we'll talk about Julie for 5 or 6 minutes. Hey, Mom, how's Newman doing? Hey, Mom, what's happening with that? And I can walk through. I know how to burn 20 to 40 minutes with my mom on the phone, right? And it's meaningful. It's rich. I love it. And I can turn my red into a green love language, and we have this relational conversation. Very, very meaningful. When I'm over here, when I was with Bill. Bill was my boss as an engineer, one of my first big bosses. And I'm telling you what, if I had 15 minutes to hang out with Bill at the end of the day, I felt like I was on cloud nine, and I felt like I was doing a good job. But Bill was an off-the-chart red-blue, and I could have been the best engineer under Bill, and his amount of time with me had nothing to do with what he thought of me as an employee. But I would beat myself up every day he didn't spend a little extra time with me. In other words, I was evaluating worth, and I was evaluating how good of a job I was doing through an unrealized lens of how I tend to prefer communication. And it's just such a waste of time not knowing that. Not knowing that. And we could just tell, one of my first deep mentoring relationships, and we started working together, is Aubrey Malphurs. He's written a ton of books on mission, vision, values. He's written a book called Maximizing Your Effectiveness on this stuff, unique stuff. I started working with Aubrey. What I realized is I would talk on the phone, and I'd get a checklist done. What I realized is I talked to Aubrey a couple weeks later. We were starting to do some consulting together about 15, 16 years ago. What I realized is if I did not put it in writing, he never registered it. So I thought I was getting the job done. And I called him 2 weeks later, Aubrey, did we do that? What are you talking about? He was a double blue. He was off the chart blue. And if he didn't see it in writing, it didn't get communicated. So I realized I had to communicate it in writing. Look at emails through this lens. And I was sharing in our last cohort, I had just done a consult with Ronnie Floyd, who's he was for 2 years. He was the president of Southern Baptist Convention, leads a church in Little Rock, or in Northwest Arkansas called Cross Church, and we were doing a big staff retreat, 90 folks in the room, and I was texting Ronnie about getting set up for the deal, and I texted him this long text, big question, and he literally texted back, done, D-O-N-E, period. And I mean, at first, my yell was like, does this guy not like me? Is everything okay? And then I'm like, okay, he's off the chart red. Everything's good. I mean, he's just getting it done. And I'm immediately readjusting. Like, okay, this is just a conversation with Ronnie. Probably the most helpful thing in the world is knowing the people I serve, are they red leaders, yellow leaders, green leaders, or blue leaders? I can knock out 5 phone calls in 10 minutes on the airplane with 5 red leaders. I'll never dare do that unless I have the time here. I remember I have to be so adaptable as a consultant that you would blow your mind. Jim is a senior pastor in Naples. When I get off the plane with Jim, we go eat, and we talk about nothing but our families for 2 hours. Now, hear me on this. If I get to business too quickly, I'm not serving Jim as a senior pastor. And where's Jim? Green, right? Do you think I can meet with a red pastor, get off the plane, go have dinner with a red pastor, and talk about family for 2 hours? They'll fire me before we get started. Like, who is this guy? I'm not hiring a consultant to have a friend. To get the job done. What are we doing here? And so this becomes a very, very powerful lens. Now, by way of introduction, very briefly, let me give you a couple of tools so that you can decipher this and discern this. We'll debrief this back at the house after dinner. What you have, there's actually, just a quick decipher, there's actually there's three rings in here. There's a little meaning to that. So you have two circles. On this one, I think I've got Dave's up here. So you have two circles. So notice on Dave's, there's a stronger colored circle, and there's a lighter colored. And notice on Dave's, one's in the inner ring, one's on the outer ring. We'll explain that in just a second. Some of you see two circles, some of you only see one. If you have one, that means your two circles are perfectly on top of each other. Okay? It's a good thing. Here's what that means. If you go to this page, I'm going to show you what this means real quick. All the Jungian tools have what they call a conscious or less conscious assessment. And what they're trying to do, so if you look on this page, on the left, you have what they call your conscious. And then they have your less conscious. Okay? And it's a very simple thing. The conscious is looking into basically your current role description. Think of it as your conscious is your work mode. It's based on the role that you're currently performing. Think of your less conscious, they consider that more of your default state, or I think of it as your vacation mode. So this is who you are on the job. In rough, quick, kind of our life hack here on this is vacation mode versus work mode. Work mode being conscious, vacation mode being less conscious. Your lighter color is your less conscious. Your lighter, your faded circle. So if they are on top of each other, congratulations. It's not this is good or bad. If they're on top of each other, what the assessment is indicating is that there's not a difference between your work mode and your default state, basically. Now, the indicator of whether there's tension in that equation is this preference flow. So I'm looking at Dave's, and if you can see here, the yellow is peaking up a little bit, and what that's saying is that Dave on the job is having to exercise a little more yellow than his default state. And the preference flow for Dave is 15.8%. The kind of the warning light that flashes a little bit is if you have a 40% or more. Like if your preference flow is 40% or more, they suggest you could be in a season of transition. There might be something, you might need to retake the test, or just might be something happening to create that tension. All right, does anyone have 40% or more on theirs? Okay. You had 38 over there? What was yours, Creed? 41. What about you, Jeff? I was 29. 29. Okay. Yeah, and we'll debrief that a little bit more, but you want to be aware that this middle bar is indicating differences between those two, differences between your default state and your work state. Notice most people have two colors above the line, and by the way, the way to think of this is pay attention to your conscious first. Like think of this as your work mode, and so the one on the left. And what we want to most people have two colors above the line and two under. And that is actually the middle ring here. So the ring that you're in is telling you whether you have 1, 2, or 3 colors above the midline. So 2 colors is common. If you have 1 color above the midline, you're in the outer ring, say out here. On Dave's, for example, notice Dave's is an outer ring and an inner ring. This means he's got 1 above the line and 3 under. And that's called a focused behavioral preference, indicating that they are doing that one color with a lot of vehemence. There's a lot of strength in that one color. You're going to feel the red, you're going to feel the blue, you're going to feel the green or yellow more. The person who's in the inner circle has 3 colors above the line, and they call that, it's a funny term, they call it accommodating. They mean that in the best way. There's a positive flexibility of that individual person to tap into different color strengths. Now, I'm not really the politically correct insights guy because they really they want to be very careful, that you don't overstate, that this is about ability or that there's, right or wrong in these. And so I want to, that's kind of my caveat statement. That the best way to think of these is Not that it's what you can't or can't do. It's your behavioral preference on a daily basis, how you prefer to spend energy. There's two great metaphors for this. Grab the one that's most meaningful to you. Think of this as you have 4 gas tanks at the beginning of the day. And you have different colors in your tank. If you're high on red, that just means you can do a lot of task-oriented work all day long. If you're high on green, that means you can work in this deep relational capacity, and you don't run out of gas easily. If you're low on that, it means you're low on gas really quick. Another helpful thing is think of them as bungee cords to your back. The more color you have, the longer your bungee cord. So, my lowest is green, and when I'm in a deeply relational 20-minute conversation, my bungee cord is short. It's pulling me back. I can't stretch and spend a lot of time. I don't have a lot of gas in my tank at the beginning of the day for that. And so kind of use that metaphor, pick your metaphor in terms of helping you think through that. So it doesn't mean, for example, if Jess is low on blue, it doesn't mean she can't do accurate work. If Luke is low on red, it doesn't mean he can drive tasks and get tasks done. It just means it's not your preferred sweet spot of operation. Okay? Now, we're not done on this. We're just going to eat dinner. For those of you whose love language is eating dinner. I will say this. As you look through your profile, you've got a couple pages of overview. You have really neat bullet points on there. And in the unique process, we're going to ask you to pick out a few things from here and write it down as a good representation of your behavioral preference. Here's what I want to promise you with this tool. At some point, I want you to start thinking very specifically about what you're doing for a living, your vocational calling in light of this. Because this can be so unaligned in your life. And it's so sad when I see people, and you see it very often, it's very easy to be out of alignment with your basic wiring. Right? You're much better salesperson, but you're in an accounting role. You're like, what in the world are you doing? This is mismatch. And you see that basic misalignment all the time. On the opposite, you know how life-giving it is to be in a role where you can be yourself and just operate in that default behavioral preference is really, really powerful.
How often do you recommend taking it?
I think this lasts a good couple of years. If you have a 40% or higher, then you ought to retake it if there's not an easy explanation for that in a transition. So I would take this every couple of years, Jess, to see what's happening. But usually it doesn't change much over several years unless you're going through major transition. Or at least this kind of thing. Luke, I don't know from your connection to this, is there a default that Insights recommends on that you're aware of?
Yeah, every 18 months.
Okay, about 2 years, 18 months. Okay.
Is that because they want to get your money, or they think that you're going to be changed? I mean, because mine's definitely migrated. I mean, among the discs and the Myers-Briggs and things like that.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
why is there rationale for choosing both?
My guess would be just on preference flow, looking at the way you're currently operating versus your default mode, how close of alignment is it.
All right, any other high-level questions on this tool? We'll debrief it a little bit further. We have some listening reflection we want you to do on it. Did anyone feel like you read the tool and you felt like, oh, this was not me, like it was a real miss? We don't usually have any big misses. We'll have a time to go through and highlight things that are. Anyone feel all good on that? Okay.
Mine's kind of a miss.
Is it?
I have problems with the end sometimes. But anyway.
What does yours show, Jess?
It shows that I'm more inspiring, and I think my job requires me to more.
Are you red yellow or yellow red?
It has me yellow red, but I've always been D dominant, and I've worked really hard to develop my yellow. So because the critiques that I got was that I wasn't inspiring enough, that I had to lead that way to be a female
Yeah.
leader of men. I couldn't be a female leader of men as a D.
What's your preference flow?
It was 27.
And was yellow coming up on it? Was that?
Yeah. But
Okay.
I had only one circle.
Okay. Okay.
So I don't know.
I feel led to make this comment. I feel this is sometimes, I feel like there are moments when you get to this unique journey where I feel almost bad saying, the opportunity to be so fully aligned is such a privilege. It's insane. But for some 15 years, I've been able to just, even though I'm the founder of an organization, I'm still wrestling through that value to show. I'm still making changes to my greatest shift to my role description happens this year in 2017. And I'm so excited. I'm continually fine-tuning it. But I would say I get to perfectly live in the sweet spot of my behavioral preference. So perfectly, it's almost ridiculous. It's almost embarrassing. I think, but that's what I want other people to have, that idea that you're designing your life based on God's word, based on a gospel-centered thing. So you see how quickly we're going from, hey, let's make sure we see our drifts and our deeper issues, but man, let's get after some real vocational design here, and let's chase that sweet spot that we can live in. It is truly remarkable to have that opportunity to do that. For the last 15 years, my average time with a client is 9 to 18 months. You know what happens after 18 months? My value significantly declines on what I can do. So you're going to get the best of my, and you know what's happening is this, when you look at all the total tally of my wirings with that red yellow is getting completely, I don't have enough blue to serve clients beyond that. I don't have enough green to serve clients longer than that. And so it's really funny to look at, just look at the design of your vocational calling to maximize that behavioral preference that you have.